Ghost of Tsushima is out on Friday, July 17th, and you've finished it. I haven't touched the game.
Finished it. Much to my surprise. It's funny because I made notes yesterday morning because I was like, I'm going to talk about it on the podcast. And my first thing is opening thoughts. I'm 20 to 25 hours in.
Wow.
Okay, but now I think you can update that to 25 to 30 hours, and I've actually finished the game. I did not expect to finish it. Just the way the game is going. It's funny, I said to you before we started the podcast, it did this weird thing where it didn't drag out for another 4 hours or 5 hours, which most modern games do. And it's weird that I had that expectation.
You're like waiting for a fake out ending almost.
Yeah, where's the twist? Are they going to roll credits and pick it up again? But yeah, so I've actually finished the game, and I think Ghost of Tsushima is an excellent open world game. It's really good, but I don't think it's going to set the world on fire. Which is, it's not a bad thing. I think you mentioned that Darren described it the best way. It's like a nice sunset game for the PS4. It's a really strong finish. So just for context, you play as Jin Sakai, a samurai who's defending the island of Tsushima, which, fun fact, is an actual place. I had no idea. I honestly thought Tsushima was just like a fictional Japan or just a fictional place inspired by Japan. But upon research, it's an island between the coast of, it's actually like set smack in the middle between Japan and Korea, I think it is.
I have read, though, that the geometry in the game doesn't match the actual island.
I would imagine it's changed for gameplay purposes. But it was such a weird thing. I was like, this is
it's an actual
place. Like
actual island.
It's like a mini Japan, whatever. And I think the game takes place in the 12th to 13th century. So this is around the time the Mongols were basically wiping out the whole world. Like Genghis Khan was up to no good. But so none of the characters in this game are actual people. Like I think if I read correctly, there was a developer update where they said they did consider putting, like in Assassin's Creed, they might drop in a famous figure just to be like a nice little nod, like, hey, this dude's in this time period, whatever. But what they do here is the premise is that the Mongols have taken over the island of Tsushima. The person leading them is a great grandson of Genghis Khan.
Okay. Well, he did have like hundreds of children. So
many children.
Yeah.
So the game starts out you just defending the island.
Okay.
Against this invasion, and because the Mongols just have raw numbers, they're completely overwhelmed. Like you, part of a few hundred samurai with their thousands of soldiers. I'm just giving you some context for the beginning of the game. So what happens is you end up getting, you think you're going to die because they overwhelm you completely, but someone saves you from the beach, a thief named Yuna, because she needs your help to save her brother who's been captured by the Mongols.
Okay.
And it's weird because that's more or less where the game kicks off. It's got this really cinematic opening, 30 minutes, let's say, and then it just plonks you in the open world. It's like, cool. You're Jin Sakai, the island's been taken over. It's your job to liberate it, get rid of the Mongols.
So it's not like a time jump or anything like that?
No, I mean it's maybe some short time passes between you being rescued. But it happens so quickly, and that is actually a bit jarring. I was like, whoa.
Okay. I got the impression that you failed to defend something, and then it was like a long period in between from the trailers. That was the impression I got.
It doesn't tell you how much time passes, but it seems like it's fairly quick.
Okay, interesting.
I could be misinterpreting that, but it's cool because that's the way it kicks off. It's a good and bad thing to me because I feel like they could have spent maybe an extra 30 minutes, an hour setting up your character, but it's weird because you sort of get plonked in to this thing of it feels very much like Breath of the Wild, except Breath of the Wild still gives you that 1 or 2 hours in the beginning to
it gives you that restricted space to kind of get comfortable.
And then it throws you into the world. Now you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
Whereas this, it sort of drops you in, and it feels a bit, I don't know, the only way I can say it's a bit jarring of okay, cool, do what you want now. And it's okay, I need to go save the island, but I can kind of go do whatever the hell I want now. But I think what is the most jarring part of it, though, is that so the game is Ghost of Tsushima, and if you don't know, the basic premise of it is that you are a samurai, obviously, but in order to save the island, you need to sort of balance the code of being a samurai, like the whole honor system of when you defeat an opponent, you look them in the eye, like you show respect to your opponent, you honor them before you take their life. Like that's sort of it's very respectful, very I don't know, like rigid way of doing things. But that code of honor is not going to save the island when the Mongols don't give a shit. Like they are ruthless, they are brutal, and you're
not fighting on the same terms as them.
Yeah, so you start leading into an unconventional way of fighting, which sort of gives you this moniker as the Ghost of Tsushima. You sneak around. You're not scared to stab people in the back. You're
not fighting them head on. You're not giving them a chance to fight back. Yeah.
But that's the way it feels a bit weird, because it sort of just gives that to you. So after Yuna rescues you, you go and you take an enemy outpost, and it's like, okay, there's a lot of them, and she tells you like, but we can overwhelm them by creating small advantages by like stabbing people in the back, let's say. And Jin's like, no, like that's not my way. And then he does it once, and then
he's like, oh, that's pretty cool.
No, like then it's a bit like the game just carries on that way of like he's just adopted this way, and it does throughout the game. It does pose that question on you, like what is the fine line between honoring your code and just destroying it to liberate your homeland, whatever. Like
kind of like forgetting everything you are for the sake of. Okay.
So it does drive that point home. I mean, and it does create points of tension through the game. It is like, are you actually doing the right thing? Like you using these unconventional means, but you kind of have to.
Yeah.
If you wanna tip the odds in your favor.
Yeah, because you are outnumbered completely.
Yeah. So it's weird because then in becoming the Ghost of Tsushima, you learn these abilities, or you get these tools. So, for example, you can use a smoke bomb. So if you're overwhelmed by enemies, you can use a smoke bomb to quickly escape.
Pa.
Pa. You can use you can throw kunai at them, and it's as you
kunai. There's little like little spear thingies.
Those little blades. Swing. It's like those. So it's weird because Yuna only really teaches you about like creating advantages, but she doesn't at any point. And I mean, this is just me nitpicking the game. I'm going to get into the real good stuff in a second. But she doesn't really give you any context of like, hey, like you should create tools or you should do this or this. As you play the game, you sort of you level up. It's not an authority thing, but it's like you are becoming the Ghost of Tsushima. So as you level up, you unlock these ghost abilities, but it doesn't give you any context to how Jin just knows how to do them.
Okay,
like
so
as
it's
you
a very
up, it's
gamey way of like
as you level up, it's like cool. You can choose between these 4 items. Like, are you going to choose the smoke bomb, the kana? And I'm like, but how does he know how to do this?
This sounds 100% like an Assassin's Creed.
Okay, it just doesn't contextualize it at all,
Yeah,
which I found a bit
Assassin's
weird.
Creed. Yeah.
Okay, so I found that a bit weird, but I mean that's just me nitpicking at the game, because ultimately the game, in terms of the open world, it is really, really, really good. Like I found it's an excellent open world game. So the rest of the game plays out. It's basically you trying to recruit islanders to help you overthrow the Mongol leader, which leads to some twists and turns and confrontations, which I'm obviously not going to get into for spoilery reasons.
What is sort of like the structure? Do you have is it like normal open world fare where it's like this is your main mission to progress the story, these are side missions?
So what happens is you do have your North Star, like this is what you need to do to progress the story or whatever.
Okay.
But you have every right to just wander the island and take up side quests, do random things, whatever.
I know you did tell me one evening you spent like 4 hours just chasing side stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean the fact that I think is it Sucker Punch who did the game?
Yes,
I think
the developer of Infamous.
Like when I say the game's an excellent open world game, like I really mean it, because they've ultimately crafted a world that you want to explore. And I used the Breath of the Wild comparison earlier, and that actually sticks with me. That stuck with me throughout the game, where it was in Breath of the Wild, you could climb a mountain and you'd look like, oh, like I want to go explore there, and you go there and you just get lost on this map. Now, Ghost of Tsushima, you can't climb every mountain. That's not Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild broke that for every other game.
Is it more like a Horizon Zero Dawn where you can climb at certain points?
You can climb at certain points.
Okay.
But however, when you're just riding around or you're on a certain vantage point, you can look at a very far distance, like at what's the word I'm looking for? You've got a good view of the whole island, and you can see like, oh, there's smoke rising over there. Oh, there's a village over there, and it encourages you to explore it. And it's there's plenty to do. So, for example, you could on your horseback just ride into an enemy camp and liberate it. And when you liberate it, that part of the map highlights is like, cool, there's no Mongols in this area anymore. You could find shrines where you can get charms to equip that give you some certain buffs, like maybe you get a slight increase to health, or you take less damage, or it takes you a little bit shorter to notch an arrow in your bow. Like in terms of what there is to do in this game, there's plenty. So I finished it in 25 to 30 hours. I mean,
that's a decent amount of time.
That's it. I think if you had to mainline the game, so if you were to literally just follow the main quests, I think you could do it in maybe 15 to 20, which isn't bad.
It's sort of around the same time. I mean, Assassin's Creed Origins, which I finished pretty recently, took me around 40 hours, but I did like a lot of side stuff, like as much as I could. And like, because you're doing so much, it feels that 40 hours feels like extended, and it doesn't feel like a 30 hours of The Last of Us 2, which is like Last of Us 2 didn't feel like 30 hours to me, just because like it was so tense the entire way through. Yeah. So I think when you're able to take your own downtime, it extends that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and like you mentioned, the one evening I knew I was supposed to go do like objective A, and I just got lost in the island. I was just...
No, but that's the best feeling when you're when you're like, okay, I'm gonna do these 2 side missions, and then get that will take me to the main quest, but then you like keep getting distracted. Like that's the hallmark of a good open world game to me.
Yeah, I mean, and so the island, like it's fairly dense. I don't think it's populated that there's too much. Like I think The Witcher 3, as good as it is, there's just too much to do.
Yeah,
like the map's too big. There's just
like overwhelming side quests.
Yeah, I feel like this map is scattered out. Things are scattered out in a way that it's not too much. That's the only way I can explain it. But not only that. So besides doing the optional side stuff, like liberating a camp or climbing a mountain to reach a shrine to get like a perk or whatever, the side quests are actually, the ones that I did anyway, were really good. Like there's elements of fetching stuff, but I wouldn't call them fetch quests. So they actually call the missions, they're called tales. Okay. And for the most part, it tells a story. It's like you meet a character, they say they've got this problem, and it progresses the story separate to the main narrative. Okay. But it's usually like this out compared to, say, maybe not quite the level of Witcher in terms of detail, but it's the same thing of like, this is an interesting character. I want to see what happens to them. Like, what's their deal? How can I help them?
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
And there are tons. Like I looked, I think I counted yesterday, main quests, there were 24.
Okay.
That's just like, from A to B, finishing the game. I think I have something stupid like 15 to 20 side quests unticked, and I don't think I've discovered them all. Like this is separate to all the camps, all the shrines. So there's like a ton of content in this game. And
that's awesome.
I mean, I haven't felt fatigued yet. I don't know if I will get there, but I mean, the reason it doesn't feel fatiguing, not that that's a word, is that the gameplay is fun as well. Like in terms of combat, so, I mean, let me get into that quickly. You don't pick up, so unlike in Assassin's Creed, you don't use any weapons other than your sword as your primary weapon, or your dagger for like stealth kills. Okay. Your sword is the only thing you'll use. You're not going to like pick up a spear or anything else, for example. You've got your sword and besides your sword and your tools, you've also got a bow and arrow and like a bunch of utility stuff. But what they do to mix up the gameplay is that you get different stances.
Okay.
So every stance is effective against a different kind of enemy. So stone stance, for example, is
stone stance.
Stone stance. Yeah.
Okay. I thought I heard that incorrectly. I was like, that's weird. Okay.
Stoner stance.
Yeah, stoner stance. 420 stance.
Is is effective against swordsmen. Moon stance is effective against big, heavy people, big, heavy enemies. So that also, when you consider that as you play the game, enemies get more varied, more clever. You need to start interweaving your different stances to take advantage of their weaknesses. You don't have to. You could stick to a stance, like, I just like the way the sword is in this stance, I'm just going to stick with it. But you're doing yourself a disservice because what you want to do is break the enemy's posture to do damage.
Ooh, something like Sekiro.
It's weird because it's got some elements from Sekiro, but it's not at all like Sekiro. I mean, when you play the game, you'll see.
Because I remember seeing the trailer where they showed off the combat for the first time, and everyone was like, "Oh fuck, this looks like Sekiro." So you're saying it doesn't feel the same?
I mean, it's got overlaps in that in Sekiro you could hold block and you'll deflect attacks. If an enemy is about to do an unblockable attack, you have to dodge.
Okay. This is very Assassin's Creed. Holy shit.
Oh, no. So I was talking about Sekiro there.
Yeah, no, I'm just like thinking of the parallels to Assassin's Creed as well. But it's like very similar.
Similar, yeah, in the sense that like you literally just block. If you time your block perfectly, though, you'll either deflect them or do a counterattack. Yeah, okay. So you'll parry them. So it's got those elements, and it makes combat very engaging. And I mean, one of my biggest criticisms when I started the game, and I did tell you this, was that you can't lock onto an enemy, which is incredibly jarring when you come from a game like Sekiro,
like
or
all other third-person action games.
Any other third-person action game. And it's weird because it's habit. You get into a fight, like, that's weird. I want to just lock on the enemy and do my thing. But I did tell you that I think it's an intentional choice because at any given moment you're surrounded by like 2 to 8 enemies, let's say, maybe more. And what they want you to do is, like, you are surrounded, but they want you to take your time and maybe chip away at different enemies. So there's a reason you don't lock onto them, and you do get used to it. Like, it was weird at first, but I'm used to the system now. But yeah, so you could walk into an enemy camp and you could just be overwhelmed by 8 enemies, let's say.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask just real quickly. Like, is it a case of you can take on 10 enemies and come out like fairly unscathed, or is it a case of like if you take on 10 enemies you might be biting off more than you can chew?
No, it's interesting because the way the game works, the enemies, in every action movie, you'll see, or any like a kung fu movie or fighting movie, the protagonist will be one person surrounded by like 30 people, but they'll
all attack him like one at a time.
One at a time. Okay, the game does that a lot, but not all the time. Like, there are times where you're surrounded, but only one person comes at you at a time.
Okay.
Where the challenge comes in is when more than one decides to come at you at a time.
Okay.
Which happens. Like, the AI is not dumb.
Okay, I'm glad they do that, because Assassin's Creed's problem before Origins and Odyssey was that you would only be attacked by one enemy at a time, even though they were all surrounding you, which was just like dumb.
I don't know if it was an intentional thing, but starting out the game, it felt like people were coming one at a time.
Okay.
But the areas I was doing yesterday, there were a lot of enemies. I'm like, shit, I've got 2 or 3 attacking me at a time, and I actually
like overwhelmed. Yeah.
But that's where you being the Ghost of Tsushima comes in handy, because then it's like, oh shit, I'm being overwhelmed. I'm going to drop a smoke bomb, quickly assassinate these 2 people, and then carry on fighting. So you create little advantages for yourself. But the combat itself in that regard is fun, purely because, like I mentioned with the stances, you might have a shield person coming at you. Oh shit, I need to switch to, I don't know if it's water stance. I'm getting them mixed up now. Like, you switch to a stance, you quickly do posture damage to that person, chip away at them, whatever. Oh no, now swordsman's coming at me, I've got to switch to stone stance. And you do this quickly on the fly. And it makes it very engaging. And obviously throw in the fact that you can throw kunai or smoke bombs, whatever.
So when you change stances, do your attacks change?
So what happens is, you do different combos, basically.
Okay.
So the way you hold your sword, it's actually really cool. The way you hold your sword, you visibly see like you standing differently.
Okay.
And your attacks are different. So stone stance, which is good against swordsmen, you've got a light and heavy attack as well. I should have mentioned that. Your light attack, as far as I know, is pretty much fixed across all stances, but it's your heavy attack where you see like, oh, this is where the
it's like a different wind-up time, different animation time. Okay.
So sword stance, for example, it's literally you like doing a heavy blow over your head, to try to break the sword person's posture. Whereas I could be wrong. I think it's wind stance or water stance. You hold your sword down, and you do like a quick up and down motion to overwhelm people who hold shields, for example. Another stance, you do like a full-on, like almost like a roundhouse kick, if I could compare it like
Nice.
that with your sword. You like spin around and you bring your sword down. To
Oh, cool.
And like
Okay.
builds distance on people who have spears.
Okay.
So in that regard, yeah, I think the combat's fun. Like I really enjoy the combats. In the game.
And
what's cool is that
I think in the trailers, what they emphasized was like, because this is a samurai movie, you're not like, or a samurai game, you're not like hitting an enemy 5,000 times, like death by 1,000 cuts. There were a lot of instances in the trailer where Jin and his opponent would kind of like just stare each other down, and he would take one slash and the enemy would be dead. Is the combat similar to that?
So are you talking about the? I don't know what the mechanic's called, but it's a standoff mechanic. I'll get to that in a second.
So that's a different thing. Okay.
So what you say that's true. If you look at an enemy and they don't have a lot of armor, you will finish him in like 2 or 3 slices, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to like as you progress in the game, enemies start to get more heavily armored.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot more to cut them down. But it's weird because in real life, if you were to be sliced that much, you'd probably die. But it's not too much in this game that you're like, it took me 20 attacks on this dude to like overwhelm there. It's like,
It doesn't feel like an artificial thing.
yeah.
Okay.
It feels like you are slicing the enemy and you're hurting them, but it does take you a while to get through them. But they've got armor. So it contextualizes it well in that regard.
Okay.
But what I wanted to get to is the standoff mechanic, which they actually showed, I think, in the first gameplay reveal where Jin encounters a handful of Mongols and he puts his hand on his sword.
Yes.
And they have like this weird standoff.
Yeah, it's like slow motion staring down
and
vibes. Yeah.
So what's cool is that, like I've said throughout the game, they push you on this like, are you a samurai or are you the Ghost of Tsushima? And inevitably you go down the path of Ghost of Tsushima because you got to save the island. But what's cool is that when you walk into an enemy camp, you can either sneak around, do it stealthily, or you can push a button and you can challenge everyone in the whole camp.
Oh, hectic. Okay.
You walk in, you're like, hey, come fight me. And that brings up the standoff mode, whatever you want to call it, where what happens is you hold a button, triangle, and your opponent also gets ready to attack, and you stare at each other, and the goal is to time letting go of the button that you get the first blow in,
Okay.
and you'll kill them. What's funny though is late in the game, enemies get smarter, and they try to bait you into attacking before they do, so they can get the first hit in.
Okay.
So
And
it
if they
makes
get the
sense.
first hit in, do they kill you instantly?
They don't kill you instantly. You just take damage and the fight starts.
Ah, okay.
But it's-
Got you.
But it's very cool because it's the thing of, it's like sometimes I do like sneaking around and I want to walk into a camp and hide in thick bush and then like use my bow and arrow to pick off or whatever.
And the stealth is
Other
satisfying
times-
in that regard. Like you could take out encampments without being seen.
Yeah, you can 100% do stealth if that's your thing. Or you could just follow the way of the samurai and look all your opponents in the eye and climb off your horse and say like, come fight me, and everyone comes and fights you.
And the game doesn't lock you into one or the other. Like you can switch freely
No.
between Ghost and
It's-
Samurai.
It's, well, I mean, you inevitably do both. I mean, you could, I suppose, play the way of the samurai where you do just take people on head on and that's that, But there are story moments where you kind of can't do that.
Okay.
But it did
But
make
it's
me
not like
wonder-
if you upgrade Ghost, then it's like, well,
Oh, no,
like
it's
Samurai is not viable anymore or something like that.
No, yeah. So your upgrade parts, I mean, there's a lot to upgrade in this game, and it's not, the system isn't like XP based, but
Okay.
you still get ability points. So for doing quests and just helping random people liberating camps, you'll fill up like, I suppose it is a bit like an experience bar, but not really. But
It's
you
not
get
like
ability
you're getting
points to
damage
spend.
buffs or anything like
No,
that.
no. Yeah. You'll get to spend these points on anything from, so the stances, for example, I can now choose to upgrade a specific stance where if I put enough ability points in it, I'll have different combos, I'll do more posture damage, or I can put these ability points into my ghost abilities, like my smoke bombs might last longer. I can upgrade my kunai that I throw more, like I can throw 2 instead of 3. So yeah, there's plenty to upgrade in that regard, but it's not a thing of you choosing to upgrade more samurai or ghost. You can, but you don't lose the other by upgrading the one.
Okay,
That
that's
makes
cool.
sense.
So you don't have
Yeah.
to pick one or the other. You can like
No.
freely
I mean,
switch between.
if you do the whole game and you get enough ability points, you'll just fill out your skill trees and
That's cool.
you'll just be the best warrior on the island, which you already are. Because good lord, Jin's like a killing machine. But yeah, look, I know I've rambled on about different bits and pieces, but the game is good. Like the only thing I can say is that in terms of open world game, it is a lot of fun. Like I've rolled credits and I want to go back and do the enemy outposts, just explore the island because it's a beautiful game. Like it was a
how's
weird
that
thing.
photo mode?
I'll get to that. It was weird going from The Last of Us 2 to this game purely because I think Naughty Dog set the bar very high. Like that itself was a bit weird. I was like the character models don't look
As sharp,
as real. Like I suppose my one criticism of the game is that the character models don't look that great. But I mean, it's only because I've just come off a game where
it's like
the attention
almost
to detail
next
is like,
gen.
it's next gen, yeah. But the island itself is so lush and colorful that like riding around is honestly it's a joy. Like you'll run through a field of flowers, up a hill, climb a mountain, and you just have these beautiful vistas. Like with whether it's temples, impromptu villages, or just shrines for you to go explore. Like there's a lot to see and do in this game, and it's very clear that the developers spent a lot of time like crafting every little bit of this island to be like fun to explore.
I do like I mean, from all the trailers I've seen, the stark contrasts you get with the reds against the black and the grey, it just looks really
yeah.
nice.
I mean, they lean into these colors. I mean, and it's funny because it's a typical Japanese thing. Like if you've watched anime or any like samurai movie, it's very much like there are way too many cherry blossoms blowing around, way too many leaves, whatever. And
But it's for effect,
It's for effect, and this game has a lot of that. Like that would never look like that in real life, but it looks so pretty.
Yeah, it's like so saturated and gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and they lean into that by they minimize the UI very well in this game. So I know when I was reviewing it, there was a patch that has dropped to like minimize the UI even further. But the way the game is set out by default, there's no mini map. The way you get around is the wind guides you, and it's actually a very, very clever.
So Pocahontas, wow.
It's a bit like Pocahontas, yeah, but it's very. Lenska found that hilarious. But it's very clever because when you first start the game, like in the same way that not being able to lock onto an enemy is jarring, not having a mini map can be a bit jarring. You'll find yourself like often pulling up like, where am I going? Like it doesn't make sense. But as you get more comfortable with the system of like the wind is actually directing me to the next objective. So what you do is your touchpad, you swipe it up and the wind picks up and it shows you like it blows in a direction like, okay, I need to go that way. And it becomes second nature, and it's a very clever navigation tool that I'd love to see in other games because it stops you from pulling up the menu or having to have a menu open all the time. And it just allows you to enjoy, I don't know, like the
beauty
actual
of the game.
visuals of the game. Yeah. I mean, even in combat, the UI is relatively small. Like you have your health bar on the bottom left, and only when you change your posture and you pull up your tools do you actually see anything pop up. But it's very minimal, and it's done on purpose because I want you to take this beautiful world in. Hey, look at these colors.
I'm kind of glad that like that and The Last of Us 2 really made like the UI's, the default setting is like very minimalistic. Like you can go in and turn it all on so that it doesn't fade away or whatever. But like at the default, it's like what I think more games should try and make that their default and then give you the options to, you know, turn on whatever you want. But like Assassin's Creed overloads. Sorry, wow. Assassin's Creed, Coronies. Assassin's Creed overloads you with UI from the get-go, and it's like you have to dive into menus and like turn off things a bit at a time to make it look like halfway decent. So I like that the reverse is true now as the default.
Yeah. You actually the one who brought it to my attention because you've often pointed out like, oh, the UI is great or the UI is too much, whatever. And honestly, like I've just maybe been the sort of person who's never noticed before. But now I'm 100% on the same page as you. I'm like, yeah, the less the better. Like, give me the crucial bits that I need. But yeah, don't just flood my screen with.
I always encourage people now. Like, I used to think, like, when I was playing Origins, I turned off the compass at the top because, like, it's just like always there. I turned off so much in Origins because I think there's too much going on in that UI.
Yeah.
And like for the first like half an hour, you're like, oh man, I don't actually know my pointing now. I don't know which direction I'm facing, whatever. But like you get used to it so fast that it's just like, okay, this is natural now. And you take so much more of the world in. So it's like, don't be afraid to turn that stuff off and play for an hour and see how you feel,
But I mean, the same is true of Ghost. Like I've said, that it's actually jarring. Like, where's my mini map? Where am I meant to go? But like after a few hours, it's so natural where I'm like, yes, other games need to do something like this. Whether it, I don't know, be a small arrow on the floor or whatever, just let me take in the visuals and don't smack me with a mini map. Like, and actually, just on that quickly, the PS4, the DualShock Touch Bar, I think it's like a severely underutilized feature.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Like, this game actually does it so well in that it's a lot of the stuff on it is optional, but it makes sense to put it there. So, like I said, if you swipe up on the touch bar, the wind picks up and it shows you where to go. If you swipe right, you unsheath your sword or you sheath it.
Ooh.
And it's actually funny how that becomes second nature as well. It's like, okay, I'm not going to fight anyone. Let me just sheath my sword. You just swipe right.
Feels like a nice natural.
Yeah, or I'm busy sneaking around and I don't need to unsheath my sword because like it'll do it automatically. But I found myself like, yeah, I'm going to unsheath my sword just in case.
Just to get that like millisecond. Okay.
And if you swipe down, you bow to people. Also just like a natural, you don't have to, but it's there. And if you swipe left, you start playing. I don't think it's a flute, but it's
the
that
lute
instrument.
Yeah,
the lute, whatever it is. It's just like it's such a small little thing.
Oh
but
man, I'm gonna find so many high
that.
mountains and just play my lute. Just fucking rock out with my lute out.
One thing I learned about that. So in order to learn more songs for your lute, whatever, you have to find singing crickets. Makes no sense contextually. I don't know what they're teaching you, but if you unlock enough, you get to play different songs.
Okay.
And I learned like earlier this week that depending on the song you play, the weather will change.
Oh.
Which is quite cool. Yeah. So if you want to, I don't know, take a stronghold in a storm. I mean, I don't think it makes a difference in terms of gameplay. Like, I don't know if it'll actually give you an advantage, but you might think, I just want to have a storm.
This sounds like fucking Wind Waker now. What's going on? This is awesome.
Yeah, it's look.
Play the lute to summon a tornado or something like that.
Yeah. I actually haven't tested, but in the menu it's like, some say they're playing the song like inspires storms. Like something like
holy crap, this is so Wind Waker. This is fantastic.
I see what you're doing, yeah.
Sold me.
Yeah, it's a really fun game. Again, I don't think it's the best PS4 exclusive, but like it's kind of unfair to say that when you've got
so
and
many,
The Last of Us 2 and Bloodborne. Like I acknowledge that it's unfair to say it's not the best PS4 exclusive. However, as far as PS4 exclusives go and just games in general, I think it's a really solid game, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. Like I can't compare it to Assassin's Creed because I've never played Assassin's Creed. I'm going to fix that with Origins soon, but I think you said, Darren mentioned it's like Assassin's Creed in Japan.
Yeah, I think Ubisoft is so happy people are going to be off their backs now.
Yeah, I mean, if Assassin's Creed is having this beautiful open world with lots to do in it, then this is Assassin's Creed Japan. And they've done it very well. Like, it's 100% believable that I'm just wandering through this 13th century Japan. Just, it's really cool.
And kudos to Sucker Punch for doing something so wildly different.
I mean, their games are infamous.
Yeah, like they've made open world games, but like Infamous and this are like mechanically so different.
Completely different. I mean, Infamous, it's like you living in a modern city. To go from that to go from road structures and tall skyscrapers to, well, not tall skyscrapers, but buildings to just like these open woodlands and forests and dirt roads and these castles. Like, they did a really good job, I feel.
And I think that's part and parcel what Sony's strength this generation has been. Not only have they revitalized their old franchises in exciting ways, like when you look at God of War and you look at some of the changes Last of Us 2 introduced, like they've put out new IPs like Ghost and Horizon Zero Dawn, which, new IPs are hard because it's like it either hits or it misses. And it seems like both of them really, really stuck really well. So that's cool.
Well, I'll be interested to see. So without spoilers, obviously, I don't know if there'll be a sequel. Like, it's one of those things where, like the first Last of Us, it finishes, you're like, cool. Like, I had a good time.
Up, yeah.
It wrapped it up, but they could make a sequel. And they did. I don't know this game. I have the same sort of sense where, like, that is a really good story. Like, in terms of narrative, I mean, just on that quickly, I think some of it is pretty predictable. But in terms of the story it told, it has some very poignant, am I using the word?
Yeah.
Poignant moments where it does stop you and you think like, huh, or
you change your stance to crying
moments, or effective against no one.
You're just in a fetal position, crying and rocking back and forth. Like,
but when the credits roll, I very much was like, cool, they could leave the story there.
Okay,
100% they could leave it, and it's satisfying.
Yeah. So it doesn't end feeling like, okay, they're clearly making a franchise.
It's not at all. Not one point I was like, oh, okay, like this is being set up because in the sequel, Jin's gonna go hunt someone or whatever. It's not at all like that. It's like, cool, the story's like, you're free to go explore the island, do whatever you want, but like that could just be the story.
Okay,
that's cool.
That's cool.
Down with that.
That's actually kind of awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like, can I just appreciate that Sucker Punch did not do the stupid, like I said, it's a stupid thing. Sometimes it works, but it feels like most game developers today want to drag out the ending for 3-4 hours. And I don't know why it's a thing. And it's clearly done enough to the point where I thought I wasn't going to finish this game last night. In my head, I told you, I'm on this act. I think it's the last part of the game, but I'm not sure. Because
you did stay up until 2 in the morning.
Yeah, but I mean, if I think about how much I played last night, I finished that act in 5-6 hours.
Okay.
I mean, I did mainline a lot of it. I didn't do side stuff. But at the back of my mind, I was like, are they really just going to finish the game here? Or is there going to be some twist and they're going to force me to backtrack through the island and do other stuff? And they didn't. So kudos to them, because it really very much was like, here's how you think the game's going to end, and there are plots and twists along the way, but it very much does end where you think it's going to end.
Yeah.
Which awesome. Cool. I appreciate that.
I feel like Last of Us 2 really triggered you with its false endings.
It's not just The Last of Us, though. I mean, it's like...
No, it's a lot of games do it, and Origins did the same, and I was just like, this is annoying. Yeah.
Like, another good example, Days Gone. Another PS4 exclusive. Just when you think you're getting to the end, it's like, nope, you're only halfway through the game. You're like, what?
Days Gone is the one PS4 exclusive where I just wish it ended, like, halfway through, because I was just, like, so over it by then. It's just...
Yeah. But yeah, I think Final Thoughts Ghost of Tsushima, really good game. I think some people will find flaws in it. It's not a perfect game at all. I mean, I've pointed out things that I dislike about it. But overall,
solid 8 out of 10.
A solid... yeah, if I were to give it a number, I like... If I could do a Metacritic prediction... Which
predict what you think will be the consensus.
I think it'll get maybe...
What's funny is by the time people listen to this, we'll know the answer. So.
We'll know. So you can look it up and be like, maybe it was wrong.
So what did you predict? 85?
I think about 85 seems a bit...
that's where I'm thinking 80, 85.
80 and 85. Yeah. I think that's I mean, it might...
Which is solid. Like, that is a fucking good score.
That's a good game. Yeah. It might push up to the 90s, but that's why I think 85 is like
I think a new IP, like... From a developer who's not used to making this style. Well, they've made this style of game, but like we said, it's very different in many regards. I think getting that is like goals. Like that is really, really good. Yeah.
all the reviews all drop, and everyone's like, "This game is trash." I'm like, "Huh? Well, I was wrong then. I enjoyed it."
Highly doubt that's going to happen. Highly doubt that's going to happen.
It's a great game. Look, it took me a little while to get into, but yeah, it was worth it.
Sweet. I'm excited to play. I'll probably play early on Friday. So
download it.
Yeah, I actually have a game currently reviewing.
Oh boy.
So yeah, I can't play it yet.
Okay. Cool.
The trials and tribulations of reviewing games.
Yeah.
These are the days of our video games.
It feels like it's been a long time since I've had this sort of pressure. Where, look, we're not at all.
You got the game early as
or-
well, so you got time to
I
like
got the game
savor
early.
it. Yeah.
I had a lot of time, but it's been a long time since I've had this thing of like, oh my god, I've got to play this game so I can finish it. I mean, like with The Last of Us 2, it very much was you reviewed it, but I want to finish it so we can do a spoiler cast on it. This was now our roles were reversed. Like actually, I'm the one with early access. I'm the one who's got to finish it. Am I going to make it to the end? I don't know.
Well,
But like,
I mean, you did it. I mean, when the Last of Us 2 embargo dropped, I didn't finish the game because I was
But I promise you, I did not think I was going to finish it. Like, there's a reason. My first note is, 20 to 25 hours in. I think I'm close to finishing the main campaign, but I don't know. Like, and I did finish it
because you're
so-
like, it could drag out the ending.
it could, yeah. Yeah, it is great.
That's cool.
I
I'm
really enjoyed it, so-
very stoked to play it, and I'm glad that it sounds really good as well. So happy.